Hello, I'm Cynthia Brooks from Fire and Glory International Ministries, and we're wrapping up 2022, where we're coming near the end of the year, and people are making plans and preparations for shopping, all these Black Friday sales and things of that nature. And this is the time of year that people would normally think about taking trips. Maybe getting together with some friends, getting together with family, dinners, banquets, celebrations, shopping, and all the 9 yards. But I want you to think about something today, and it is such a vital subject to me, a vital subject to my heart, and mainly because I have young grandchildren, and I want to talk about as I pray for my grandchildren, I'll be praying for young people, because many of them will be taking cruises and trips out of the country and getting out of their normal wherever they live, their locality, and going and spending time with people who they call friends. Unfortunately, today, friends are not the same type of friends that I had growing up. Friends today, as far as the young people are concerned, they will get close to each other just so they can destroy each other. And I'm not even understanding the mentality of the young people today. We are truly in a time of lawlessness, and we're truly in a time where people don't understand what is a friend. The Bible said there is a friend that will stick closer than a brother. Now, I have two brothers, and my two brothers and I, we are close, and there is probably nothing that I need that they won't help me with if I ask them. I never use my brothers, and they don't use me, but if we need to help one another, we will do so. And so I want you to think about, if you have a close sibling and that sibling always have your back, your friend should be like that or more. So I have friendships. I have friendships that I can call on, and I know if I call on them, that they would help me or be there for me or pray for me. And basically, I ask my friends, pray for me. Pray if I'm, going to do something. The Lord is sending me on a missions trip or whatever, and I'll say, I need you to pray. And I have full assurance that that's what they're going to do. But, we're hearing of these young people that are taking these trips out of the country or out of their locality and going into other places to have fun, and they end up being injured or killed. And that's because young people today don't know how to pick a friend. We look at social media, and we have people on there who we have clicked them in, and they say they're our friends, and we may communicate on there, but that does not mean they are a true friend. And I want to read from Psalms 138:7, because in Psalms 138:7, it says, and I want you to think about this. Though I walk in the midst of trouble, you will revive me. You will stretch out your hand against the wrath of my enemies. God, this is what David is saying. Though he walk in the midst of trouble, there's a lot of times there's going to be trouble. And God is always there for you, to revive you, to help you, to stretch out his hand. Revive us, restore, bring life and energy back into you. And that's what friends should do. So God has shown us the first thing that happens when we run into trouble and we have a friend. He is there to revive us. He is a friend. He said, I no longer call you servants, but I call you friends. So God is the first friend you've ever had. He is still God. And then he says at the last sentence, and your right hand will save me. God's right hand will save us, because he is our God and he is concerned with us. So I want you to think about, when you're walking through trouble, your friend, God, will revive you. He will strengthen you. And then in Proverbs 17:17, it says, a friend loves at all times. And a brother is born for adversity. A friend loves at all times. I'm just going to stay on that one. A friend, someone who's a friend of yours, will love you at all times. I mean, you could have a disagreement and yet the friendship doesn't fall out. You may say, let's just take a vacation from each other or whatever for a day and then get back to each other and all is well. But a friend loves at all times. I have friends that goes back, stretch all the way back to about 40 years. I have friendships that long. And one, I think 50 years. And then I have newer friendships, newer ones that I've met once I moved to the new city that I'm in. And, these people, if I have a need, now, I'm never one to use a friend. If I have a need, they're there. But then there are people that's in your inner court, those that are just right there with you. You have acquaintances on the outside. Teach young people the difference. Acquaintances are on the outside. Acquaintances, the outside. You can talk to them when you want to, and if you need help, maybe they'll be there for you, maybe they won't. But a friend will be there for you at all times. But then you have your inner circle. And that inner circle, you can share your heart, your soul with them. They will pray with you. When something happens to you, they will cry with you. These are people that love you. And so we're seeing these young people go out into the world and with people they don't halfway know. And then something happened because of whether it's jealousy or whatever it is. They go out with these people and they end up dead. And we just saw a case like that recently where a young woman went out of the country with some friends, and it was on social media, and she was beat up. I mean, she was beat to death. And these friends let her parents know when they came back. They all left her. They all went back home. And they let her parents know that she had alcohol poisoning. Of course, when the tests were done, found out that she had been actually injured and killed. And that is a devastating blow to the family. And not to mention those who did it, And the crazy thing is, the insane thing is today that people record the things they do. They record it. Like, why? But anyway, that would be shown up in a court of law that you were the photographer. You were the one that was filmed it on a phone or a camera, and you did nothing to stop it. That makes the young person an accessory to the crime. And they have to know, these young people have to know, if you are the one that's holding the cell phone, you are an accessory to the crime if you did nothing to stop it. And so I want to talk about this. I'm going to talk about, that thing really gets me. And we've seen this far too many times where young people were injured or killed because somebody did something crazy like that. But that's not even what this is about today. I want to go to 1 Corinthians 15, and I want to go to verse 33. 1 Corinthians 15:33 says, "Do not be deceived. Evil company corrupts." Do not be deceived. Evil company corrupts good habits. So you might be a pretty decent person and you got these friends that are not pretty decent. And you go out with these friends and you're not quite sure what all they'll do. There's some salty stuff going on with them that's not right. But you go off with them to another country, now they're going to show you who they really are, because once they start consuming alcohol or drugs or whatever, who they are is going to come out. Then you have linked yourself up with. And if you want to stay with that crowd, you got to do what that crowd do. When I was a teenager, and I'm going to share this. When I was a teenager, I was with some girls once, and I cut school with them. They were my school friends. And I cut school with these girls. And we ended up, we were supposed to go to the beach. And so we didn't go to the beach. We were supposed to go. That's why I left school. We went over to some guy's house that they knew. And I was about 16, 17 years old, somewhere in there. And these girls got over to this guy's house, and I got the show of a lifetime. I couldn't believe what they were doing. I couldn't believe what they were doing openly and in front of everybody. And I'm like, what kind of people are these? Now, mind you, I just started going to church, and I didn't know, I didn't know how to judge character at that time. In school, they were fine. We had fun in school. You know, we could swim together, or, just talk and chill out. But now I saw another side of these girls that I've never seen before. And the pressure was on, they were trying to put pressure on me to do what they were doing. Now, I grew up as an only girl, and I had a strong father and a extremely strong mother. I mean, the women in my family, my mom's generation, these women did not play. And I was taught, trained, beat in my head, just because they jump off a building don't mean you need to jump off that building too. And so it came back to me, because it started coming back to me, things about my mama. So I could actually hear my mama's voice. You know, my mother would tell me about think before you leap, think before you do something. They jump off a building, you're going to jump off a building. You know, my mother would tell me these kind of things. I'm thinking, you know, now mind you, when I'm thinking about this stuff, these girls are trying to call me, you know, are you scared? You know, are you a coward? Yada, yada, yada. I'm thinking, no, I'm just saying stupid. And I began to look at them. They look nothing like the girls who I thought they were. They look nothing like the friends that we were at school. I'm looking at, you know, Diablo with some earrings on. I'm like, you know, these girls were like, my God, they're awful. They were awful. And they thought they could talk me into doing the things they were doing. You know, I was so shocked, because I didn't know anybody would do that in front of, you know, they were being sexual, they were smoking, you know, and all this stuff, you know, smoking weed and all, and what is this mess here? Needless to say, that was the last day I ever had any word, conversation, not even a hello with them, period. I had nothing to do with them, because my mother was telling me, evil company corrupts. You get with corrupt people and you hang with them, you will become just like them, because it says evil company corrupts good habits. It does. We have to understand, you will never get the world to think like you think. You will never get people to think the way you think. What you have to remember is that whatever they do that's wrong, they want you involved. Yeah, you know, I was doing prison ministry, and there was one lady who got out of prison, and she was very spiritual in prison. I mean, she was on it, and she was trying to turn her life around. And we communicated with her, my team communicated with her after prison, and we went over to see her, to pray with her, to see how she's doing, so that she doesn't come back. And one of the things, she went to prison because she was holding her boyfriend's drugs, and they did a drug bust in her apartment. And there was drugs there. It was her apartment, her name. She goes to jail. And her kids going to her, we had to go with her parents. But we went over to see how she was doing. And myself and two other ministers. And while we were talking to her, look, I want you to listen to this. When we were talking to her, this van pulls up. And this guy gets out. He calls her over. And she gets really tense, you know. And I said, what's the matter? Who is he? And she said, you know, he was the one who was supplying me with the drugs. I said, well, don't go over there. And he kept calling her name. And she was so afraid of not going to him. And here we are, I'm talking to her, and the other two ministers are praying for her. We were telling her, don't go. And then he told her, look, baby, I'll give it to you free. You don't have to pay for it. I'll give it to you free. I said, it's nothing free. Nothing on this earth is free. He wants you to get it, and then it's going to snare you back again. And I said, you don't want to go back into prison. Don't go to the van. And we talked to her, and she went over to the van anyway, because she was afraid not to. And I walked with her. Now, you know, I realized I had put myself in a position that I could have had some trouble, but, you know, at that time, no, I'm here for her. I'm not, you know, I was raised that way. You just do what you got to do. And I'll go over to the van, and he's telling her about, taking this bag of drugs. And I said, don't take it. You don't need it. And I'm just talking. You don't need it. Don't, he's just trying to pull you back in. And he's just like the devil. This is Satan. Don't take it. I'm saying these things to her. And she didn't. She didn't take him. She walked away with us. He left. He left just like Satan. He left for a more opportune time. She failed eventually because she didn't have the fortitude in her to resist evil. Resist the devil. He would flee. He fled that day, but she wasn't surrounded by anybody the next time he came back. But I was just dumbstruck at how now we're talking, some years ago. I was just dumbstruck on how she could be fooled or coerced. And I'm sure she was thinking about how these drugs would make her feel. And I guess drugs feel good. I've never taken drugs. I have no idea. I never wanted to be out of control of my thoughts. I want to be able to always be in control of how I think, how I move, how I act. So drugs has never been an issue for me. Drugs is an issue for many people, not for me. So anyway, I didn't see her anymore. I think till like 5 years later. And she was out again. She went back to prison. She was out again. And she was saying she was trying to hold on and do better. And I just saw her out of the store. That 5 years later we talked. And I don't know how she did from that point on. I never saw her again. But I thought about how the devil would do anything to coerce a person to go back into a bad habit. And we have to think about that. Do people love us when they're trying to tell us to do something wrong? No, there's a friend. If that friend is good, if that friend is a God-fearing friend, there's no way that friend will allow you to go into a place. I'm trying to find this book I want. Will go into a place that would damage or destroy your life. In Ecclesiastes 4, and this is 9 and 10. It says 2 are better than 1. 2 good friends. 2 good, solid friends. If you got 2 good friends, you got the world. My sister and my sister-in-law, I call her my sister, not my sister-in-law, and my assistant, there's 3 of us, and we go across the world. We do missions together. We go and we minister. We watch each other's back at all times. If one don't go, something happens, one can't go, we all don't go. We stick with each other. We pray with each other. We support each other. And that's what friends look like. That's what friendship look like. Support. And it says here in Ecclesiastes 4:9, 2 are better than 1 because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, one will lift up his companion. But woe to him who is alone when he falls, for he has no one to help him up. That is so true. Some people say, I've heard people say, I don't want any friends. Oh my goodness, friends are such a blessing from the Lord. Now we know there's some fair weather friends, and somebody might be reminded, of Judas. Judas betrayed Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, and when when Judas came in with the Roman guards, he went up to Jesus and kissed him, and Jesus called him friend. But Jesus knew that Judas had an important assignment to sell him out. He knew that. That's why he was a treasurer. Remember, Jesus said Judas was a thief, but he let him be the treasurer because it was going to take that money. It was going to take the silver to sell him out because Judas loved money and he gladly sold Jesus out. But Jesus knew that was coming. So Jesus wasn't deceived like, I thought he was really my friend. No, Jesus knew better. Anyway, it says here, I'm going to back it up to 10. For if they fall, one will lift up the other, lift up his companion. But woe to him who is alone when he falls, for he has no one to help him up. Again, if 2 lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one be warm alone? Though one may be overpowered by another, 2 can withstand him. And a 3-fold cord is not easily broken. That is so true. You know, when you're wrapped up, and there's three of us that travels the world. I'm telling you, you cannot separate us. If one person have a problem, the other one is on it. We never operate independent of each other when it comes to times of trouble, or when it comes to times of the assignment, when it comes to time of ministry. We operate so well that we know when one person's a minister, you know, when to move out, when to do what we're going to do. God is with us because there's true love. I know these are my friends, but we have to teach young people, what is a friend? A friend is someone who will stick closer than a brother. And I'm going to turn to Proverbs 16, verse 28. It said, a perverse man sows strife. A perverse man stirs strife. A perverse man, he sows it. He stirs it up. He's moving. You know, you've seen friends. You've seen friends who have, you know, it might be three of them, and one of them is always gossiping about the other, and that unit can't ever get together because there's so much drama. I've heard women say, I just don't want to ever be a friend to a woman because women's so upstart. You know, women always got something going up, always causing contention. Well, they're not your friends. Leave them alone. They're not your friends. They're showing you who they are. So you move on and get a real friend. But it says right here, it's finished saying, and a whisperer separates the best of friends. If you got someone that's always telling your secrets, always telling what they know about you, they're not your friend. A friend, what did God says? Love covers a multitude of sins. Love covers. Love do not just sit back and reveal and expose. That's not love. This is why God tells us in the church to love one another as Jesus has loved us. So we see today where people are constantly throwing each other to the wolves. Something my sister-in-law used to say, why do the church shooters wounded? When people mess up, you know, we just treat them like they're nothing. And that's not right. Love covers a multitude of sins. And, you know, we're coming up in the time of where people will start, you know, saying, you know, peace on earth, goodwill toward men. Yes. But do you have goodwill toward men? Are you covering people? Do you have a mind to treat others the way you want to be treated? Are you operating out of true love? Are you operating out of just need? You need somebody as company. So therefore you will take up with people without having any kind of heartstrings to them. Don't be afraid to love people. Don't be afraid to reach out and touch people's lives. Don't be afraid to be hurt. You know, I've been hurt a few times in my life by people I thought were my friend. And, you know, looking back now, I'm so glad that I had those experiences, because they taught me what a real friend looked like. A real friend would never sell me out. A real friend would never try to hurt me. You know, a real friend would never, and I've seen this where people have you know, wanted maybe to get a job or something they want to do, or be involved in something, a particular event or whatever, and someone who they thought was their friend undercut them so that they can get the job, or they can become, go to the event, or become somebody special in the event. We have to make sure that we know the people that we hook up with. We got to know them. And we have to know if they are really people who walk with God. I'm going to tell you something. There might be some good worldly friends out there. I don't know. I didn't see any before I knew Jesus Christ. I saw people that I could be friends with. But I really didn't see anybody that I could just really hold on to and say, this person got my back. But I'm sure there are still, you know, you got good people. You got good people who don't know God. So I'm not saying that if you don't know God, you can't be a good person. Sure, you can. There's always people. You see people who risk their lives to save other people, who go into a burning building, don't even know these people, but they'll go into a burning building and save someone's life. You know, there are people that are just good people. And then you have those other folks. You have those who don't know or don't have a clue about what it means to love someone as they love themselves. That is such a beautiful virtue that God gave us, to know how to love. Oh my goodness, it's nothing like love. Satan can't even do it. And he could have Satan get you, you fooling around the devil and you're being lust, L-U-S-T for people. You may covet what someone have. That's not love. They got it, so you want it. And if you want it bad enough, you go steal it. But I'm just saying, we have all these different things, all these behaviors that come about when people don't know how to be a friend. A friend always loves. You always feel for someone else. I have a friend who lost a dog. And I know some people say, well, people have like dogs in their family. Let me tell you something, they do become part of your family. They really do. You feed them every day, they become a part of you. Now, I'm an owner of 2 dogs. And so she lost a dog. And it's not like losing a human being, but that is a loss. Dogs are companions. And so, I didn't, we didn't go over and have a vigil or anything like that, but I prayed for her. I'm praying for her. Because that's a empty spot in her life now. I have a dog who's probably ready to leave here as well. She's pretty old. And I think sometimes I say, well, you know what? I think I'm going to wake up the next morning and I just don't want to wake up and find out she's gone. And every day she's here. She's still here. And I thank God for her. But she's pretty old and she's going to leave soon. But I want you to think about this. You got to feel for friends. Even if it's not your problem, it doesn't bother you, something's not your issue, but it's their issue. Feel it. Have empathy and sympathy and love for them, that you can pray for them even in their hard time. Might be nothing to you, but it means something to them. I pray that you understand what friendship is, what love is. Pick people who are like you. If you're a good person, a decent person, pick good and decent friends. Know them before you go out of town with them. Know them before you risk your life and be in a situation that could cost you your life. Know your friends. Amen. I pray that this message bless you, and I pray that it help you. And I thank you for listening to me today. And I pray that you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of this week.